What's up, everyone? We're back with a mini batch of astrology shots to get us through the end of 2024. I want to start by saying thank you. We're here, we're still in Sagittarius season as I'm recording this, the final days of it. And I'm just feeling grateful for all of you who continue to show up and support the channel. I see you in the comments. I see some of you leaving many comments, and I see some of you who have been here a really long time. So thank you. I really appreciate it. We've grown my channel here on YouTube by over 1,000 subscribers in the past year. So this is probably the most growth yet. I have been doing this on YouTube for like over 10 years, but I deleted the old channel because it was like embarrassing because I was a baby astrologer, and relaunched the channel 2018, went on hiatus, and then kind of came back full force in like 2021. So it's been a slow climb, even though I've been doing this a long time. So I really appreciate those of you who have been here to support. And special shout out to Aaron, Dina, Jem, Peace Panther Productions, Jody, Venom, Zoe, Holly, Aquario Soul, Melissa, Genghis Galahad, Kate, Nancy, P. Revere, Julia, and so many more. Thank you so much for being here. I'm wishing you all a very happy new year, a very happy 2025, and a happy holy day season to all who observe. So for the remainder of this video, I'm just going to give a little bit of a personal update as well as a little bit of a solstice forecast. So here we are at the solstice. That's probably around the time I'm going to be able to post this video. And the solstice is basically where we see radically different shifts of light depending on which hemisphere you're in. So we're seeing the extremes. We're seeing either the longest day of the year down south in the southern hemisphere, or we're seeing the shortest day of the year here in the northern hemisphere. So if you're by the equator, it's not changing a whole lot for you. And the further to the poles you are, the more extreme that it is. And solstice literally derives from the word sol, which means sun, and stis, which is to stand still. So if you note, the sun, like the ancients observed that the sun really wouldn't move a whole lot. Like we watch the arc of the sun get higher and higher and higher as we climb towards the summer solstice. And that arc of the sun gets smaller and smaller and smaller as we head to the winter solstice. And right around the solstices, that arc doesn't change a whole lot. It appears to stand still. So even though the sun is always moving forward by zodiacal degree, it does station at the solstices. So this is a powerful moment for the sun. This is a powerful moment that represents seasonal shifts in around the world, but these archetypes play out in our lives. There are different seasons in our lives. There are seasons of activity and growth and production and extroversion. There are seasons of pulling back, going within, reflecting, resting, making sense of things. And that's part of what I do as an astrologer. A lot of what I do, you all don't really get to see on YouTube. A lot of what I do is talking about people's seasons and cycles with them one-on-one in their charts, because we all have our own personal clock as well that's going on. So if you're curious to see what time it is in your life, what season it is in your life, do find me at katherineurban.com and book your year ahead forecast. I always recommend the best time of year to get a reading is around your birthday, because then we can do your solar return chart and get into all of the techniques, but the solar return is my favorite. So that is the time of year that I would recommend getting your annual reading, although come in whenever. So speaking of different seasons, some of you might have noticed that I haven't been on here as much over the last month. And that's because the season in my life is, I'm kind of in like this quieter period all of a sudden. I think it has everything to do with the Mars retrograde going on. Mars retrograde is splitting its time between my first and second house. So I'm feeling this very, very personally. And so what you're witnessing, if you're like, where's Catherine? is you're witnessing my own process of Mars retrograde, which every single one of these I feel in a big way. I could tell you every single Mars retrograde that I've paid attention to. I could tell you exactly how it impacted me and how I felt and what I got out of it. And what I can say is every single time I feel flattened, I feel exhausted. But when I come out on the other side, I got some new ideas, feeling creative, feeling passionate. And I think that many of us can connect with that. And so I share that in case any of you are feeling that as well. And to also say, I promise I'll be back more regularly. I just really need to take my own astrological advice at this time and pay attention to the need to rest and replenish and get fired up again. It's part of the creative process. It really is, at least for me. I also have the South Node transiting my Sun, so it's kind of a double whammy right now. The South Node helps us to be emptied, and it's a transit that has a lot to do with like purification, and so I'm doing like a lot of inner work at this time, and it's feeling really good and it's feeling really on time. So I share this to say I promise I will be back again very soon, more regularly. So please be patient. I've been doing this a long time. I've been writing horoscopes a really long time, and I have not taken many breaks from it. So again, seasons for everything. So honor your season right now. Maybe you're feeling the Mars retrograde. Maybe you're feeling Pluto, Neptune, any of these planets. They all help to describe what season it is in our life. And that's part of the value of the mirror of astrology. The mirror that astrology holds up for us is it's a way of making sense of our world, making sense of what's going on around us and how long it will last. That's the other big one too, that a lot of people want to know is when will this be over? Lots of things ending for people right now. Pluto is fully rooted in Aquarius now. Uranus is going to be moving into Gemini in July. Saturn is going to be moving into Aries starting in May. And Neptune is leaving Pisces, not completely, but is going to start to move into Aries on March 30th of 2025. So lots of cycles ending, lots of eras ending, and maybe you're feeling it in your chart as well. So Venus square Uranus, this is happening on December 27th, okay? And Venus is in Aquarius right now. And Venus in Aquarius has a lot to teach us about the value of befriending a stranger, okay? The value of not being super duper tight with people and being able to make a friend in the moment, like passing by, you share a glance, you share a knowing glance because you're agreeing on something that you're both seeing, and there doesn't have to be any words exchanged. That's like a Venus and Aquarius connection right there. And Venus and Aquarius people understand the value of being able to be friendly and share common ground with people without having to be completely enmeshed and knowing every deep, dark detail about one another. Venus in Aquarius teaches us the value of respect and having a little bit of respect for personal space and a little bit of distance. Okay, you could still have a really great thing going on with that sort of connection. And I share this sort of angle on Venus in Aquarius because Venus is in a square with Uranus. And that is an aspect that tells a lot about spontaneity, social spontaneity, being able to connect with people that you might not ordinarily realize that you could have a common ground with, or you might not ordinarily strike up a conversation with. There's a magic here. There's sparks here. And it doesn't necessarily need to be romantic sparks. It could just be the joy of being alive, the joy of being human, and being able to share a commonality in that moment. It could be small, it could be insignificant, but it means something. Generally speaking, Venus is square to Uranus also brings a little bit of excitement to our relationships. There's pressure there, the square. There's friction, there's tension. One of us is desiring something else, or we're feeling stuck, we're feeling stagnant, we're feeling like we need to break out of the normal routine. This would be a really great time, year-end party kind of thing, to wild out a little bit, to try some new things, to try some new activities that you wouldn't normally do. This would be a great opportunity to, like I said, make conversation with people. There's a lost art of conversation, and I mean this. A lot of us probably remember a time when we weren't all picking up our phone the second we had a free moment. And there's more room for serendipity. There's more room for synchronicity and spontaneous connection when we're not kind of looking into our palm. We've lost, many of us, the art of spontaneous social connection. And so I want us to lean into this transit as an opportunity to stoke our social skills in situations that are out of our normal routine. Another way that this can show up is there can be tensions in relationships, and it can feel like, okay, like you can feel stifled in that situation. So pay attention to what's coming up, because Uranus is the planet of freedom and sovereignty. And sometimes when this aspect shows up, there's people who are starting to feel a little claustrophobic or a little smothered by their partner, especially with Venus in Aquarius, just needing to take a little bit of space. So you know what? Go hang out with your friends. If you're needing some space, go hang out with your friends and get some space and get some clarity on what's going on, because that's Capricorn season. We've got clarity. And that leads me to my next aspect, which is Mercury square to Saturn. And that is definitely an aspect that is going to bring clarity. This is also happening on December 27th. Sometimes with this square aspect, it's not the kind of clarity that we were hoping for. It's not the kind of answer we were hoping to get. Meanwhile, this is the third square from Mercury to Saturn, because Mercury's been retrograde. So we've seen this square 3 times. This is linked to our Mercury retrograde story. So think back. Mercury's retrograde in Sagittarius, where that was in your chart, what's been going on for you the last month and a half. And you can kind of start to get at what is the problem that you've been trying to solve. Because Mercury is actually activating something bigger, which is the Jupiter-Saturn square. We've been working with this all year. We've been working with this since Jupiter entered Gemini in May. And this is our second of 3 squares. However, the third is not going to occur until next year, and they will be in different signs. So the third square will be in June 2025, when Jupiter's in Cancer and Saturn is in Aries. So, but this is the last square then that we'll see in the mutable signs, with Jupiter in Gemini and Saturn in Pisces. And, Saturn kind of has the upper hand here, and Saturn's saying, yeah, like there's a lot of what ifs. There's a lot of variety. There's a lot of things that we want to do. There's a lot of noise out there, and Saturn's trying to trim it all down and streamline it. That's the job of Saturn right now. So throughout this Mercury retrograde, there's been so many different variations of your plan, so many variations of how to make sense of a puzzle that you're trying to figure out right now. And Saturn has been kind of chipping away at it, saying, okay, well, it's not going to be that. That's not going to work. That's not going to make sense. So here we go. This is the third square. We're arriving somewhere. And it's in alignment with that Venus-Uranus, which is saying, take a chance. Take a chance of some kind. So it might not be the news we'd hoped for, but at least we're clear on something. And it's going to give us that nudge to say, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go for it. So that's a little bit about the Jupiter-Saturn square. I know we've been talking a lot about it all year. I do have a webinar, Jupiter and Gemini, that goes into greater detail about this square. It is on sale on my website for $8 because, we're halfway through Jupiter's journey through Gemini. So I want that to be available for people. Go ahead and get it. It categorizes the last 100 years of Jupiter's journey through Gemini and talks specifically about the square with Saturn. One of the things I've been observing since I created that webinar is the popularity of Substack and how Jupiter and Gemini has made long form posts popular again, which is great. But the downside of it is there's too many social media platforms and I can't keep up on all of them. So goodbye, X. So that's a little bit about the astrology of right now. And I'm wishing you all a happy winter solstice, a blessed Yule to all who celebrate, and Happy New Year. And I'll catch you all next time. Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in with me today. For more astrology in your world, you can connect with me on all platforms at Astro Catherine. You can also head on over to my website, catherineurban.com, where you can book your next astrology reading. We'll go into depth into your natal chart, your progressions, your profections, your solar return, your transits, and beyond. You can also join my mailing list where you can stay up to date with me on new classes as well as article drops. I look forward to connecting with you, and I'll see you next time.